Is Poland syndrome hereditary? Will my children get Poland syndrome? I think the short answer is no, they won't. There hasn't been a single recorded case of someone parenting a child who also has Poland syndrome. Bearing in mind, not all cases are recorded. Third world countries and stuff, we don't even know about. So it might be, but I don't believe there's ever been a recorded case. So we have to go off them facts. I'm part of the Poland syndrome Facebook groups. If you go on them, there's a huge community on there. Many parents and people who know people. And this question has been asked many times on there. And again, like I said, no one has. I've read through the comments, and no one has actually said that. Yeah, they have a child with Poland syndrome. I believe there's someone who said that they have it in the family circle, like an auntie, and then my auntie's got it, and I've got it, or something like that. But no direct links between parents and child. I work around and have worked around disabled children for the last decade. So I see the other side of the fence on a daily basis. Typically, you won't see many disabled children walking around. You'll see the odd one, but when you see them at a school or a day center or a gathering place, and you see them all together, it's a real eye opener. And I can tell you that 95% of the parents don't have any disabilities. They especially don't have Poland syndrome. So it can happen to anyone. The fact that you have Poland syndrome really makes no difference. If it was meant to be, I guess it's meant to be, regardless of Poland syndrome. Like I said, 95% of parents that I've seen from most cultures, they have disabled children and they perfectly fine themselves. It is what it is. I mean, there are key factors that I believe do play a role from what I've seen, and that is, I think, if generally you're not in good health. If you're an older person, I think that will affect women more. If you're above 40, there's a higher risk of your child having some sort of disability. That's just facts. And the older you get, obviously, the more risky it is. And I know in some cultures it is tradition to marry in the family, and that alone, without having any kind of health conditions, any kind of syndromes or deficiencies or anything like that, can lead to complications. Just simply marrying in the same genetic pool isn't ideal. It's been recommended for a very long time to not marry in the family circle. Always seek fresh blood, and that's the way forward. Generally, if you're both fit and healthy, and if you're not, get fit and healthy. It's not something that can't be done. Generally just eat better and live a healthy lifestyle, work out, be there for one another. And then if you have a go at having children, I'm sure there won't be a problem. I mean, personally speaking, having said all that, personally speaking, it was still on my mind though. I had a child recently. She's 9 months old, and she's, alhamdulillah, she's absolutely perfect. She's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And prior to having the child, when my wife was pregnant, the thoughts will always play on your mind, like, hey, you do have Poland syndrome, and you're a bit dyslexic and you walk a bit bent, and there's always that in the back of your mind, that hey, there's always a slight, because obviously your children are going to inherit part of you and part of your wife. So if they're going to inherit part of you, and part of you is Poland syndrome, then naturally that is going to play on your mind a little bit. But you can't let that consume you. You kind of leave it in the back of your mind, and just, it is what it is. Just accept it. What's meant to be is what's meant to be. And thank God my child is perfect. She's inherited my eyes, my skin tone, my attitude, and bits and bobs, but she hasn't inherited any of my Poland syndrome or any of the bad things that I feel about myself. So really, I don't think there's anything to worry about. Get making those children.